Hi, it's Nicole Fevrier Davis. I'm back again with Truth of You and our lovely podcast covering more information that you're going to kind of love. I think, not kind of, you'll definitely love, insofar as understanding more and more about the truth of who you are and God's plan for you on this planet righteously right now. What I am thrilled to do is introduce you to Maija Liisa Adams. She's amazing. She's an amazing Tedx coach, talk coach. Yes, and she does amazing things with people every single day. We love her. I've always admired Maija Liisa, and we've been on each other's podcasts in the past. But today we're going to talk a little bit more about, and she has an extraordinary life. Let me tell you, she raised 4 children. She has an extraordinary business on her own, coaching people in TEDx talks. But also she's an accomplished instructor at Brigham Young?
Brigham Young University, Idaho.
In Idaho. She's fantastic in so many ways. And she's always been a very kind and precious presence to me here online. We've done a lot together in the past. Hi, Maija Liisa.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Is there anything I have left out in terms of your introduction?
No, I think, well, one piece is that I've started doing more speaking myself. I spoke at a castle in 2022, and I was named Business Owner of the Year by my peers at that. That was a really cool experience. And then from that, I just felt that I needed to say yes when I was asked if I wanted to go speak in India. And I ended up being in a group that spoke to over 500,000 people. It was a short talk, but it has brought so many things from that. And part of my, I think even a little bit of health challenges were raised during that, which maybe led you to reach out to me. And so I say that to kind of dovetail into us working together at this time.
I think that's a phenomenal segue, and you're a genius for doing it that way. I love you for that. Yes, and I'm glad that you spoke about the castle in Ireland. That was Ireland, right?
Yes.
The castle in Ireland and then the India trip, they're both crucial, I believe, like in your experience. I mean, that just blows it out of the water for other coaches. You know what I'm saying? Like, why go anywhere else? Maija Liisa's been talking all over the world, right? So I appreciate that. And it is a wonderful dovetail. Yes, I do get messages from our Father in heaven about people to reach out to that need his help primarily. And I reached out to Maija Liisa. And it just happened to be timely because you were struggling with a little bit of a weight gain there and some circulatory issues as well as high blood pressure. So I was thrilled, honestly, that you accepted my offer to kind of work with you. That was like a big shining moment for me. I'm very excited. But I was wondering, like, how long have you been trying to lose weight or lower your blood pressure? How long has that span of time been? Because I think in our initial conversations, it had kind of gone up and then down and then gone up again. Like, how long has that span been?
Well, I think, India being the impetus for me to start taking a look at a lot of things after that, because you get on a long flight over there and your legs are swollen and so forth, and you're talking to your doctor, and then test after test is happening for different reasons. And you have been seeing the doctor, once or twice a year. And when you go in, they're like, your blood pressure is a little high. Let's try the other arm. And then it would go 10 down 10 degrees. And I try and like suppress like this calm breathing. I don't have high blood pressure. That's not me. My blood pressure is always low. I was an athlete when I was younger. And so it was so shocking then to have to go in like 3 days in a row. And they're like, no, there's something going on with your blood pressure. I'm like, okay, I have to look at it.
Right.
And not wanting to accept that and not wanting to go on medication. And I did go on one, but it being a speaker coach, I can't have a tickle in my throat. And that was I couldn't get rid of it. They said, oh, that's the side effect. I'm like, I don't want those side effects. So anyway, you and I was worried because you and I are working out together. You'd be coaching me, and then the heart rate would go up suddenly. And then we started talking about blood pressure. And then we started talking about, what were you thinking about?
Yeah. Well, first, like, what did you try to use to lose weight in the past?
So in 2019, my daughter got married, and I worked with an online coach, and she was phenomenal, and I lost the weight. But that was then precipitated with 2020 and no longer being in the classroom or in front of clients, but at home, and losing my former spouse, which was very hard. And so a combination of the thoughts in my head, the sadness and grief and the change in proximity and eating more, put that back on. And it was so discouraging because I had had it on for 30 years and here I'd just taken it off. And then it just creeped back up again.
Right, right. Yeah, and that happened a lot for my clients as well. We'd have fantastic successes and then, only to have them come back 6 months to a year later saying, "Oh, I gained it all back. I'm going to have to use you again." And I like to see people come back to me with joy in their face, like,
Yes.
"Yay, I get to work with you again," but under the wrong auspices.
Well,
So
my joy this time is the fact that even though I wasn't yet able mentally to cut out all the sugar and that type of thing, I didn't gain weight over Christmas, and that was a big victory.
And that's what's been happening too. A lot of my clients are finding that they didn't have to worry about weight gain through the holidays. That's something I was trying to impress upon a lot of people who are on the fence about whether or not they should go my direction or someone else's direction. This is the thing that they know now from different testimonials, that you didn't gain weight over the holidays, which is crucial.
But
Yeah,
I do
now
want to go back to answer your question that, I mean, from childhood, I mean, I never was a skinny child and I wasn't a fat child, but I never had a waist. And
right.
I was raised in the kitchen giving flour and sugar to my mother to bake. In fact, when I was 3, I asked her, "Are we running a bakery?" And I don't recall saying that. She remembers it, of course, with much delight and would
Right.
share that with me. But that was how she showed love to people, was by baking them something or entertaining and bringing them over. And, I'd go to the grocery store and a box of graham cracker or animal crackers is put in my hands to enjoy while she's going through the store. And so food was a big part of my life.
Right, right. I even remember you saying, I think as an infant or something, someone would give you Jello water to kind of
Yeah.
like.
So I wasn't breastfed. And in those days, there wasn't, the types of formula that we have now. I was raised on cow's milk and Jello water.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so those are some pretty deep-seated habits that were formed early on.
My addictions are to butter and sugar. I mean,
Yeah.
that combination is like, there is this one recipe for a bundt cake that I give to people, not as much as she did, but I look forward to that time when the butter and the sugar has been put together and then the flour, and then I can just take a handful of that and just eat it before I put the eggs in. So,
Oh boy.
I mean, there are certain tastes that are just so
And I'll say
love
that.
to me, right?
Yeah, and I'll say that your experience is, not unique. I think a lot of us have been raised that way. My mother was like a frustrated chef growing up, and we had all French cooking. She wasn't French, but my father was, and we had all of this, beurre blanc and um, chicken cordon bleu and all that stuff and all that cheese and fat. They always cook with butter. So we all, I think to some extent, Italian families have the same issue. Irish families have, they all have that kind of like food is love base.
Yes,
And that,
food is love.
yes. And that's very hard to get away from. But what we started talking about when we started working together were exactly that. Like, why are you craving these things? What's going on in your life that you need these things? And how can we give you more loving kindness, more of God's will in your life to supplement that instead of reaching for those things? So we introduced soul sessions. And I'm just curious if you could give us some feedback as to how different, like, let's just say my workouts or the therapeutic sessions, the soul sessions that I added to your workouts, how was that different from what you had experienced before?
First, your workouts were different in that you were there with me in my ear. And I think the number one thing for me is gaining control over my breathing. I had I aspirated something into my lung as a small child, as an infant, and had surgery, part of it removed when I was 16. And so I feel like I'm just pushing through life, never taking a full breath. And of course, I know breathing is important, but so to go even further with that, what was important in what you're coaching me to do is the inhale, exhale. But when I'm exhaling, when I'm pushing the hard thing, I'm pushing my stomach in because I've never had a waist, and I'm most of the time pushing my stomach out. Like if I'm relaxed, I'm thinking, oh, I've pushed my stomach out. So it's really becoming conscious about contracting that weakest part of my body.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another very common I want to say trait that people get used to. And
Mhm.
for different reasons, some people feel like they have to push their stomach out to keep their spine in alignment when they're in a truck. Other people feel their bladder's very full. So they'd rather distend their abdomen in order to accommodate their bladder than to actually contract the abdominals back towards the spine. And then they need the bathroom more. It's inconvenient. I also find that sometimes, as children grow, they have that tendency to just not care about the abs like adults do. Like we want a waistline, kids don't care. But as they grow, usually there's enough strength there to keep them solidly in alignment with their own spine, which was something else that I think we had worked on too, just maintaining a nice alignment of the spine, better posture, how to breathe correctly. Because when you're hunched over, it's hard to take a deep breath.
Mhm.
So we had also been looking at that as well, like how
Mm.
to straighten up in order so that you can take a deeper breath.
Mhm.
But in
And then
the
the soul sessions, if you want to speak to that.
yeah, yeah, so just a little bit of not feedback, a little bit of history. I had gone through 30 years of physically training people. I had worked with different ways of abating or stopping food addictions, different alcohol addictions people had, as well as, mental addictions. So we did tapping. I was the only weight loss studio on the East Coast that used neurofeedback. We also did a number of other things, visualizations and things like that, but nothing quite hit the mark until our Father in heaven gave me this guidance. And our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ said, put all the science away and just listen to the soul. Let's talk to the soul. So I was guided to fly out to California and give soul sessions, what we call soul sessions now, on the boardwalk in Santa Monica. And I came back and I refined it and refined it and refined it. And now I've had an opportunity to give you, Maija Liisa, some soul sessions. And I'd love to hear your feedback about that.
Well, I'm always very prayerful and looking for truth. And I'm also on a journey of trying to be a little bit more authentic about myself. Having gone through divorce and then his death and an empty nester, and being the one in the classroom then teaching something new and trying to teach vulnerability, but yet struggling with my own vulnerability. I'm always looking for people like Heavenly Father who can help me to do this in a safe way, right? To really understand what's going on in my mind and my body and my spirit and so forth. So I'm open to that, but I'm also making sure that it's something that I feel comfortable with as well. So it's just good. Like I think the most dramatic thing for me was to just like be open about something I was struggling with, and my blood pressure dropped dramatically just because I gave a voice to it.
I will say we had maybe 2 or 3 soul sessions before that. We took a break over the holidays, had a soul session or 2 before that. And then we noticed when you returned
Mhm.
from the holiday that not only was your pulse skyrocketing, but so was your blood pressure. And you started getting pain. Remember, you started getting pain,
Mhm.
and you were like, I don't know, this is
Yeah,
weird.
when we returned to working out, back to the normal space that I was at the level I was on the elliptical, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a pain here, and then now I feel a little bit over here, and so you did a little bit more. I wonder what that is, right? Asking.
Yeah. So Lord and Savior Jesus Christ said, stop working out, Maija Liisa. Go. Well, I think he said, take a lap around the gym and
Mhm.
then sit down for a minute. And we just had a brief conversation, and then we reconnected later in the day to give a soul session. And we were just trying to, what all of this is about, anytime you try to lose weight, anytime, is we need to calm the limbic brain and the amygdala in such a way that it makes it feel safe, that it makes it feel heard and comfortable and kind, and that nothing is going to push its buttons, nothing is going to threaten it at all. So we worked through some emotions that Maija Liisa had that were really kind of like pressure points in terms of, building more and more pressure internally that made it difficult for Maija Liisa to keep good, healthy blood pressure levels. And in that one session, we went from 178 over 74 or something like that. It dropped to 137. It was like 40 points. And I can always post those things later on the chat. But it was a true dramatic difference from the beginning of the hour to the end of the hour. And
Yeah, I felt the difference dramatically in my body, in my head as well. And then following up, even just checking in like once a day, like, wow, it's still down. It's still down.
yes, because we relieve the pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
our father had a chance to slip in and speak to the limbic brain and ask it to act differently and to be more accessible to him, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
in doing that, it's now set you up perfectly for
Mm-hmm.
ideal weight loss.
And I want to speak to that because I think sometimes we see our Father in heaven as, I mean, I've never seen it that way, but I think that like we're afraid to share something with him. I think there might be some ramification, but if I've learned anything the last few years is that he loves us so much, and that love gets a chance to come in. And we all need more of that in our life. And that helps just settle things as well.
Exactly. And that's an excellent point. What I've noticed is like a lot of people I work with are faithful, they pray, they go to church, or they don't, but they believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way that God can come in and help you unless you're open to it. And even if you, in your own mind, body, soul, and spirit, you say, I'm open to this, there still has to be some peace to the limbic brain and the amygdala in order for that to happen. So we can pray as much as we want, but these soul sessions are an opportunity to reconnect with your soul purpose, your life purpose, his will in your life, our Father in heaven's will in your life, and to be able to speak to all the things that you need healing. And that's what I found is the most effective way of working with these things. Also, Maija Liisa started doing some of my meditations, my weight loss meditations online. I completely forgot about that. But
Yes,
yeah,
it makes it that made a big difference too because it was twice a day. I believe you said that the time when the cortisol raises is a good time to do it, and so we would had determined 2 times when that was, one in the evening and one in the morning, and just that repetitive, again, calming of your amygdala, I assume your limbic brain, all of that has a calming effect. The first several ones I slept through, you know, but
absolutely.
but
And
then you become more aware.
that's actually fine if you sleep through a meditation of mine. That's fine because what's happening is the brain is already starting to transfer information that's more important to get in sleep for you at that moment. And then you'll start to realize that you can stay awake longer and longer through the meditations. And that's what helps to really reset your metabolism. So I just love working with Maija Liisa. I think it's awesome that you were courageous and came forward and said, yes, I want to try this, because now I do think you're perfectly primed and set up for weight loss to happen effortlessly now. We're still
Well, and
working on.
I don't want you to gloss over the point of it changing my metabolism because normally through Christmas, I'm going to gain a few pounds and eventually it'll come back down. But I lost a pound. And that
Yay!
was because of metabolism. That was from the repetition of the meditations and the breathing and the
Yeah.
contracting the spine, those things. I firmly believe they had a huge difference.
Yes, and that's I think the biggest difference about the plan that I have set up for people to lose weight versus any other weight loss program is that we are now, you know, acknowledging we need help in a different way. It's not always going to be about diet, exercise, or pills or surgery. We can't hope to fix what is a soul issue with all these man-made preparations. We can't hope to do that. We can only allow our Father in heaven to realign our perfection with what is truly our truth. And you were such a wonderful, wonderful example of that I couldn't help but like explode in joy and happiness about having you here and explaining all of this, because I think a lot of people are confused. I think a lot of people are misled, and I don't want to say, that I am, whatever, but
You know what I think it is, Nicole, because I think there is a lot of truth out there. There's also misinformation. And the
right.
misinformation comes from us not getting quiet as well and saying what's right for us. And I mean, like you said, you have 30 years of experience, but it's also combining it with, okay, can I get quiet, and what does this individual need above and beyond breathing and avoiding inflammatory foods and that type of thing that will help calm. And others have helped with that in the past, but it doesn't always stick because you're trying to go in very directly to what's unique for Maija Liisa
Yeah.
versus what might be unique for Nicole.
And that's why the soul sessions, that's why they're in place, because of that reason, to allow God in to change us as we need to be changed in order for us to live a happy, healthy, and weight balanced life. But it's also in place to give people an opportunity to explore those feelings. How do I
Yeah.
feel about this? And why am I holding so much tension about it? Is there anger here? Is there depression here? Is there fear or anxiety here? We're not giving ourselves those opportunities to explore that in a safe, healing environment. Even if you do go to therapy, I've had people tell me after a healing session that, it was better than 10 years of therapy. Why? Because I gave it up to God. I said, please, you take this
Mhm.
and do with it what you feel is the best way to handle this. And I do believe there are a lot of truthful things out there, but I do also believe that they're manipulated to sell a product, to sell a thing. So I tend to, kind of like steer people away from all of those kinds of things. And I said that to you too. I mean,
I was going to say, I just, your timing of that was, I had just started a program through supplements to change the metabolism. And you said, would you be willing to put that on hold and try this first? And so I did. And I had done it for a little bit, and I could tell a little bit difference. But again, that's everybody using the exact same thing, doing the exact same without the additional personalization of what's not just our body, but what's our brain telling our body and our heart telling our body, and
exactly.
issues that we may not be aware of. And like you say, other things like tapping and so forth, those things have helped over the years, but sometimes they seem to be temporary. Things come back.
Well, and that's the biggest issue is that, um, again, it points to something that needs to be manipulated instead of handed over to God. And once we do that, though, what we're doing is we're saying, like, I acknowledge what I am is already perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I am already perfect.
Yeah. And
You know,
and that's what, for me, what it was with the issue that came up is being able to feel that love and know that I wasn't wrong. I'm perfect as I am, even though I'm super hard on myself from gaining the weight back and all that type of thing. It's like, no, just that reminder of love, and
it's
that I'm okay, and that it's
absolutely.
okay to just talk about it honestly, what I was struggle with. So,
It's that, and it's also what I'm trying to do is help people stop taking the pills and the diets, because what that ends up doing is negating our Father's intention for us. We should be able to do this by ourselves. There's no reason why we can't do it by ourselves. But every time we take a pill, we're saying, I don't have faith in what God put in me already. I
mhm,
don't have faith in what's already here. I don't have faith in his plan for me, my health, my wellness, my well-being. So I'm going to take this pill to make sure it happens instead of listening to him. What does he want me to do?
mhm.
I commend your courage for listening and being available to it.
Well, and I have to thank my dad and my grandma for the I'm not a big medicine person anyway over the years, that they weren't either. And so it is being more receptive to, there's got to be a way that would work for anyone in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was my, hunt from 30 years ago. Like, why doesn't this work anymore? And I'd done it all, metabolic technician and behavior specialist and research and research and research and study. And why is this not working? And I kept praying, please, our Father in heaven, please give me an answer. I want to help these people. I want to reach out to them, but I have no way to get to them right now, like without, training, without diets, without shakes and protein powders and supplements. I don't know what to tell them. One of the gyms I was used to working for, and I had been there for about a year, started using cryo, freezing the fat, and it's not necessary. The fat's
Mhm.
there from the beginning. Even if you do get surgery, I've had clients that had lap band surgery and gastric bypass surgery, and lost 100, 150 pounds, gained it all back. No joke. It doesn't work. So what we're working on is more of a long-term plan for Maija Liisa and hopes that no, I know that. It's not a hope. It's a no, that these things are going to be replacing those old thought patterns and habits and addictions to foods that are not healthy for you, will never be healthy for you, and can, in essence, negate God's will for you on earth at the same time. He loves us so much. He doesn't want anyone to miss out. So thank you for being my client.
You're welcome.
I had a great time. I hope everyone else did. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. On the side note, I just want to say, yes, Maija Liisa is an active TEDx coach. And if you want to get in touch with her, how can we get in touch with you, Maija Liisa?
On the screen under my name, you'll see mlspeaks.com. And there's a way that you can contact me there if you want to, or sign up for some tips that I might have. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn as Maija Liisa Adams. And
is that correct, Maija Liisa?
I can't see what it's showing. Let's see.
Oh, you can't see the chat? Okay.
mlspeaks.com.
Yes, mlspeaks.com. So that's Maija Liisa. She's extraordinary at what she does, and she's an amazing, amazing coach in other ways too. I think you're teaching a business course now, right?
I am, yes. And there's a lot of similarity between applying for a TEDx stage and applying for jobs that I'm teaching my students with, or having your social media cleaned up and, being someone who writes about social media for a business that you might work for, and just being able to communicate in written. And then, of course, when you speak on stage, I'm not teaching it this semester, but I also usually teach a speaking class about how to give a TED-style talk or give a business presentation. And I think it's very important that we can narrow down just one simple message, like you're talking about with your soul session, and do it in a clear, concise, compelling way, being articulate, whether we're writing about it or whether we're speaking about it.
And I love your message, and I think it's all going to come together for people who do come to you, because all those missing pieces that you think about public speaking and how to get there, and it all comes together when Maija Liisa puts it forth for you, and she puts it into a concise package for you. So I love that. Thank you so much, Maija Liisa.
You're welcome. And I do both private and group consulting. So if you succeed better in private or in group, then let's have a conversation, because I want you to have your dreams, just like Nicole wants me to have my dreams and you to have your dreams. Is that don't wait. Go ahead and give that talk and share that idea.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. And I think that will also help a lot of people clear out some things in their thyroid that might be holding them back. I think there's a lot of therapy that's had in being heard, speaking out loud and being heard is crucial to your health and well-being. So try out Maija Liisa at mlspeaks.com. And I think that's it for today, but thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. And I want to thank Maija Liisa again for joining us. And I will return next week on Wednesday at 12:30 for a new Truth of You podcast. We are also, Maija Liisa is going to join me on doing a quick tutorial podcast for how to speak in your own podcast. And that will show up on my YouTube channel a little bit later today or over the weekend. In that time, though, still love and enjoy your mind, body, soul, and spirit, and love the truth of you.
I love it. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.